So yeah, we're from Epiphany, and we're here today to talk to you about how we believe that desired data and development techniques can really help improve paid search performance. Just to introduce ourselves, I'm Steve Baker, I'm the Ops Director at Epiphany. I've been with the business for 6 years, 15 years in the industry, across a range of different agency-based roles.
And I'm Neil. I head up the paid search team at Epiphany. I've been there for 6 years, more specifically oversee the implementation of the paid search strategies there.
Great, and then a little bit about us for those who don't know who we are. We've been going for over 12 years. There's 190 of us across Leeds and London. We class ourselves as quite an innovative agency. We're always looking for ways to improve things. We're very transparent. We're completely happy to tell clients where their budgets are going, where the fees are going, in terms of the results and how we achieve them. And in March 2014, we were purchased by J-Wing PLC, who are a brand comms and data science agency and employ around 450 people across 4 sites in the UK. So, what do we want you to take away from this session? Well, fundamentally, we want you to try and kind of think a little bit more about than just the standard approach to paid search. So, you know, we've got AdWords data, we've got analytics data, and that's happened and existed for years and years and years. But what else can we get? What else can we utilize to really give ourselves a different edge on how you'd run paid search, sorry. But in order to do that, Neil's going to go in the Wayback Machine and give you a little bit of a rundown of where PPCs come from.
Thanks, Steve. So as Steve says, what we're going to do first is we're going to go back in time. I'm going to take you way back, distant past, 2010. So I think it's fair to say doing the job paid search professional in 2010 compared to now is a very different job. And this is why. This is your AdWords timeline, launched in 2000. Over the next 10 years, a few new product releases, but not many. Really doing the job was kind of the same. If you focused on these core things, ultimately, it would result in a nice, efficient AdWords account. So where are we today? So since then, and in the last few years in particular, these are the product launches. There's been a whole host of new features and launches that we have to think about. And based on that, I'm just going to make 3 statements, which I fully believe to be true, based on that. Paid search is more exciting than it used to be. It's also a lot more challenging than it used to be. And the third point is really what we're here to talk about today, is that these more advanced features have created more opportunities for the smartest advertisers to really get ahead, as long as you utilize them. It's created opportunities, but it's also created a lot of new challenges. You know, how can you possibly deal with all these new features, as well as doing everything you used to do as well? Well, we hear that question a lot, and the answer we hear a lot is that automation is the key to do this. We hear things like, free up time for strategic use of those new features by adopting as much automation as possible. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but nor do I think it's the whole picture, because the fact is that even the best automation is really only as good as the data that you're putting into that. So automation is not really a new thing. You'll hear a lot about it a lot recently because of some of the advancements there. But you may have been adopting a strategy like this in the past, using AdWords automated rules, look for ad groups under certain criteria, cost above a certain amount, CPA above a certain amount, and then reduce bids automatically based on that. That's automation. More recently, you might have utilized AdWords script to do a similar thing, a lot more flexible and powerful. And here's that same rule written in script format, but just with a bit of a dynamic calculation in there, making it better automation. But taking that back to this idea that automation is only as good as the data you're feeding into it, both of those examples are really limited by the fact that they were only using data from AdWords. And we've looked at those new features and already established that we have more opportunities than ever to implement more real business data into our paid search campaigns. So why aren't more people doing that? And I think the simple answer really is that it's easier not to. It can be quite a difficult thing to do if that data you need to use is hidden somewhere in a database. So the steps you have to sort of take to get to a place where you're implementing that data into your paid search campaigns are these really. Understand your marketing challenges beyond the data you see in AdWords. Assess what additional business data you've got access to tackle those challenges, and find a way to directly integrate that business data into your paid search campaigns. Now, whilst that first step is undoubtedly a kind of marketing exercise, we see that the additional steps more so are involving the development teams in the marketing efforts. Certainly at Epiphany, we're seeing a real converging of marketing and development teams. So why should we care about that data? Why should we care, Steve?
Well, Neil, I'm glad you asked that question. We should care because the information that agencies have about clients and clients have about themselves is unique. It's unique information about how your business is performing. So what we're talking about here is not worrying about what AdWords and analytics shows you per se, but getting hold of information elsewhere from within the business that can give you a real edge on what you're doing for your paid search campaigns, which won't be something that your competitors have got because it's your data, so it exists for you to utilize it. So there'll be information in that business data that will help you make decisions and understand why you should do certain things within your paid search campaigns. And kind of really what we're hankering after here is that data will tell us how we can utilize some of the new features that exist and the new features that will exist in the future to deliver real business benefit to clients and to businesses. Now, the important thing here is to try and understand what that real business benefit is. And I want to kind of just introduce a bit of a concept here. It's not really a concept, it's just a word from the English language, but it's called about desire. Now, if you show desire to a client, to a business, to managers within your organizations, to find a little bit more about what the business is trying to achieve, where they're trying to go strategically, what objectives they're trying to hit, there'll probably be some information there that you can drag out of that will then allow you to be a little bit clever about how you use that information to improve kind of marketing channel performance, in this case, PPC. At this point, I thought I might be keen to jump into a bit of song, being in the First Direct arena. You two obviously sang about desire. I'm not going to do that, and for those who know me, they'll be very welcome news indeed. So what do clients usually tell us when we start with them? Well, they tell us usually 3 different things in terms of how we should work with the PPC campaign. Hit a broad CPA, lump all our products together, give us an average CPA and work towards that. Okay, that's fine. Achieve revenue or a number of leads. Again, not a problem. And don't exceed this cost of sale. Okay, all fine, all totally and utterly fine objectives to work to for a paid search campaign, but are they aligned with the business objective? Well, no, they're not. And this is why. Because having a broad CPA will not necessarily help us. It will restrict us when the market's good. So, if, for example, if you've got a PPC campaign on vans and cars, if the van market's doing really well but the car market's doing really poorly, then you're restricted in terms of how you can push your bids. Achieving revenue and leads is massively important, obviously, but it's dependent on things we can't control, prices, the market, conversion rate, things like that. And hitting a cost of sale, which is great, but when a client says, I want to do a 40% sale campaign, margins get cut, so we can't be as aggressive as we'd like to be. So they're all well and good, and there's no problem with doing those, but they're not business-wise. So they're channel-specific goals, not business objectives. Now, we can use those, absolutely, but if we can also add a little element to our campaigns of how we can improve a business and how we can improve business performance, that is even better. So to do that, you need to try and understand what that objective is. So here's one that's publicly available. Next aren't a client, although, you know, they may be. One day, hopefully. Maybe after they've seen this, you never know. And this is commonly available information on their website that tells you where their objectives are for 2017-18. And one of those is to increase the number of profitable next directory customers. So that's a business objective, and we can execute that from a PPC point of view. We need to understand what that objective means. Well, it means profitable people, so unprofitable people, no good. We can find that information out through data. There we go, that lovely word, data. We can find out from next information who's profitable now. And once we know who's profitable now, we can target those people accordingly. We can find more of them. And that means that we can execute something specifically at channel level to make sure that we deliver against their business objectives. So that's not an objective they've given us. That's something that we have shown desire to get information from. So really this kind of notion is caring and really wanting to do a little bit more, wanting to do the best you possibly can, but being brave. So take this away in your roles that you operate on a day-to-day basis and say, can I find out more? Is there some more information available within the business that can help me get a little bit smarter about the way we do things and make sure we're delivering something that delivers to the bottom line? And when you ask those questions and you're brave, you get little nuggets of information. And those little nuggets of information are really important and you can act on them really well. And Neil's going to talk about a couple of examples where we've done that.
Thanks, Steve. Move myself away from the smoke machine, I think. So this idea, acting on a kind of a nugget of information beyond really what the traditional campaign goals are. So I've got a couple of examples. We work with a computer hardware retailer. In our initial kickoff meeting with them, we were given some KPI goals to work towards, as is normal, but we also probed them for further info about their business and their setup. And we were given this as a comment in the meeting, that we're very price competitive on most products, but for some brands, we really can't compete. Now, that's not necessarily a problem with a keyword-driven campaign. You optimize towards the value of that keyword, regardless of what products they go and buy from that, coming through on that keyword. But for a shopping campaign, we wanted to delve deeper and look at the insights of the product performance there. But the shopping campaign we inherited came with some challenges based on that. So they were that campaign was not granular enough for us to dig the insights out based on that information they gave us. There's a lack of optimization options and a lack of insight available from Google Analytics because the campaign wasn't in good enough shape. And it wasn't easy to get in good enough shape because they had over 30,000 products and regular new additions to that as well. So if we take this back to the idea of desire that Steve was talking about, we had a shopping campaign. It was hitting our actual KPI targets we were given. But what was the desire? Well, that shouldn't be good enough for you because just because that's performing well, it doesn't mean the business is performing well. And the desire really was that we needed more insight on the best performing products based on that. And we needed a solution that when new products came into that feed, they actually came into the shopping structure as well and not just got left to an all products group. So this one's quite easy in terms of what data did we have to tackle that. We already had the feed populating Google Merchant Center, but how can we use that in an additional way to help structure that large shopping campaign easily? That's where we get the developers involved. So the solution there was that our developers created a client-specific shopping campaign builder. It used Excel and Visual Basic. It was very specific to that client's feed. It loops through the high number of product types and brand combinations in that feed, manipulates the output into an AdWords-ready format, ready for import. So by looping through the high number of product types and brands, I mean this script looked at this huge feed of products, looked at all the product types, the brands, put those together in a multiplied list, and manipulated that output for shopping campaign import. So how did the campaign benefit from that? That macro took 1 minute to run, and the output it gave us imported into AdWords in 1 minute. So in those 2 minutes, I'm discounting all the dev time because I didn't have to do that work, but in those 2 minutes, number of ad groups went from 10 to 1,300. It would normally take days or possibly weeks, knowing the AdWords interface for shopping, to do that manually. And it also meant that in future, any new products added to that feed weren't lost outside of the structure. We were able to run that quickly and get them in there as well. So there are 4 real efficiency benefits there, and also the end goal was the fact that we were able to get deeper insights and more effective optimization. So if you run a shopping campaign, and that sounds like a similar story, then some questions to go away and ask yourself there. Is your shopping campaign granular enough for what you know about your products? At what level do you see shopping revenue data? What level do you make bidding decisions in there? And how does your structure work when new feeds are added to the product? If you don't answer positively on every one of those, you might need to go away and look at that same sort of idea. Okay, so another example. Away from e-commerce, we work with a legal client, much more lead gen based. We were traditionally tasked with increasing the volume of leads. It's an admirable goal for any lead gen client, and we were doing really well on that. But we did always pry for more business information from them. How is your business doing outside of the leads that AdWords are sending you? And we got this in one of the meetings, that they're getting plenty of leads, but the quality isn't great. So maybe there's something there that we can dig a bit deeper into and act on. So what had we done with them to that point? Well, obviously, we did paid search for this client. We sent them leads. We learned from them leads, put that back into paid search and optimized. And we did well from that. We saw cost per lead decreasing throughout kind of a 12-month period, and the number of leads we were sending them increasing. Great. We got to this, January 2016, record month for the campaign, absolutely brilliant month. Couldn't wait to go to the meeting and tell the client, look at this record month. And the client's feedback was that, yeah, it was an okay month. So that was quite surprising. We've driven a record month, and the client's feedback was that for the business, actually, it didn't really translate. So obviously, there's a disconnect there. And that comes because the leads we send them through paid search go on a journey after that. The claim type's assessed by their legal experts, and they decide whether to accept it or not. So what we needed to be doing was actually optimizing, using their business data, optimizing towards that end goal that really matters for them. That's going to drive real business performance, and ultimately that's going to make the client happy. That's my favorite slide I've got in here. So what were the challenges with that? Well, we had no insight of which leads generated by PPC turned into accepted leads. We had no insight of what lead types were being generated for generic keywords. Once again, we know that challenge. We take it back to desire. Can we push to generate higher quality leads? You need to show the desire to do that. We'd seen a record month in AdWords, but it's not good enough. We wanted a record month for the business. And can you see the claim types being generated from different keywords? And what data do we have? Quite a lot of data on the customer side, lead states in the CRM system, lead types, and in analytics, obviously the marketing session data, and in analytics as well, a unique analytics ID. So what can we do with that desire and that data? Get the developers involved. And the solution was obviously that we needed to link that end state CRM data back to the marketing data. So we did some dev work, and we began to pass Google Analytics ID through with the forms. So we put a hidden field on the forms, auto-populated it with the Google Analytics ID. When the forms were submitted, that went across to their CRM system. We got the client's buy-in to send us back change of lead states. And again, dev work on our side, we have a script to automatically import that information back into Google Analytics. And that then gave us the additional insights we needed to optimize to that end goal. So we implemented that. It took a while, a few different people involved, and then we've got some results off the back of it, which were great, really. You're no longer looking at leads we're sending them through. You're looking at actual accepted leads that have gone through their vetting process. And you can see that notwithstanding a seasonal blip in December and a short month with a few bank holidays in April, the actual accepted leads we've been sending through because of this information we've got higher each time. But more than that, there's been a real business impact. This is their overall acceptance rates within the business. Not only were we sending more accepted leads through, we were sending less rejected leads through, which meant that their legal experts were spending less time with leads that were never going to be accepted. So a real business benefit as well. So if you're lead gen, I think there's a few questions to go away and ask yourself there. Are you definitely pushing towards the most valuable leads, and how do you know that? What additional business data might you be able to access that's going to help you drive efficiency that you don't already look at? And once you know that, how can you possibly incorporate more of that into your paid search campaigns? And that might require a bit of dev work. Just one last point on that in terms of future opportunities. That was all for on-site forms. We're now exploring the same idea when somebody picks up the phone. That's going to require some collaboration between ourselves, the client, call tracking provider, and their call center. But we're confident we can get that done and start collecting even more robust data on that. So I'll hand back to Steve with what I assume is an intentionally blank slide. I know it is.
Which we're told not to do by the marketing department. Oops. So yeah, I mean, that's all well and good. Those examples are great, and sometimes that information is going to be really easy to get hold of. Sometimes it's going to be difficult, but you've got to try, because otherwise there's no edge. You can use clever bidding techniques, you can use tools, you can use the best analysts in the world, but at the end of the day, your business information, your client's business information is unique to them. It's going to give you an edge, so utilize it. And as Neil's mentioned, automation is obviously a big buzzword at the moment. It's not a new thing, it's been happening for years, but one of the most powerful things I've heard over the last sort of couple of years or so is this statement that was made by eConsultancy in their Future of Agencies report, saying that clients need us the most when we have to be agile. So the important thing there is, how can we use data to be agile? How can we use that information? We'll think about the changes in trends we've seen in the marketplace, mobile device usage, and think about the fact that a younger audience is moving to more social channels. Think about anything that's happened in your business, the dreaded B word that nobody wants to talk about at the moment. How can that affect how the business performs, and how can we utilize kind of those things that happen and exist? How can we use the data that you've got in your businesses to try and improve campaign performance accordingly? And I think the point we're trying to make really is that how can we use data and development techniques and scripts and things like that to make things more agile, to make us able to respond faster. It's no good just having someone at the click of a button ready to change things in AdWords anymore. It's no good just having manual processes to do this. The skills exist, the talent exists, the abilities exist to make this much more fluid and simple to operate. And it's not necessarily going to be easy, but it's got to be worth trying. So as a key takeaway from this then, from our point of view, the desire thing is really important. I think you've got to really show that you want to find out more than just what you get at a campaign level point of view. Business information is really, really important to maximising opportunities with a paid search campaign. Data will exist. It'll exist in your businesses, in agency roles, in client-side roles. It'll exist. It might mean you have to go talk to IT. yeah? But you're going to get that information that will exist somewhere, and once you extract it, it will give you loads and loads of really good nuggets of information that you can act upon. And then the developers come in, and once you give them the data and say, I want that, oh yeah, that's easy, I can do that now. They build it, it works, it's fluid, you know, perfect, exactly what you want. And then the results, what you end up with is a stronger and deeper, more fulfilling relationship with your client, with your agency, with the people within your business. It's just a much more robust working relationship, which everybody wants. That's what we're kind of, you know, always aiming to do. And I think the other point that you made last week...
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, Steve, that as well as that, as someone who's done the job, it makes the job more enjoyable. It changes the job from sat there for 8 hours a day looking at AdWords or Bing ads on a screen into something where you actually learn about the businesses, you learn about the different data you can get, techniques as well, and just makes you a more well-rounded marketer, more exposure to this different way of working. So I think it's benefits all round.
Great. So that's it from us. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you all coming back from lunch for it. If you've got any questions, feel free. I don't know how much time we've got, but feel free.